This week we talk about a potential new feature coming to Apple's custom silicone MacBooks. So let's go ahead together as a people and check it out. And welcome to another sensational Saturday. This is Mike, and this is Mike Text It Out, where on Saturday I bring you a news story. And what are we talking about this week, Big Sir? What are we talking about? No, literally, we're talking about Big Sir. That's what we're talking. I wasn't calling you Big Sir, unless, if you prefer to be called that, I can discuss it and potentially work that in. But I was really talking about macOS Big Sur, and the 9 to 5 Mac article that came out on the 24th that said, hey, they found some code in Big Sur Beta 3 that suggests, there might be some extra information hidden in there, some upcoming changes. So yes, macOS Big Sur Beta 3 has some code that references biometrics, like face biometrics, face scan, Face ID. So it looks like Face ID might be coming to future MacBooks. And this makes a lot of sense, because if there's one thing that we know for sure about this generation of MacBooks, is that the webcams are garbage. All right, they've had the same HD 720p FaceTime cameras for like 8 years, and they haven't even put any effort into upgrading it. But depending on how long they knew that they were going to make this switch to Apple Silicon, that might be the reason why they waited so long. Because as a 9 to 5 Mac article pointed out, a lot of the stuff that makes Face ID work, like the processing for it, really depends on Apple's A11, the A11, A12, they're Abionic chips, their own silicon. A lot of that processing is done on their chips. Like, yes, you do have to have the hardware to make it work, the depth sensing camera and all that stuff, but there's also a layer of processing, like similar to what we see in any smartphone camera. It's not so much as having the hardware, it's about the software. As you know, Google has proven with the Pixel time and time again that, they have good hardware, but it's really the software, the computation that makes cameras great. So the Face ID, like basically the processing for it, how it handles the data, has always been done on Apple's own chips, which makes sense as to why it hasn't come to any of the Intel MacBooks up until this point, because it would probably be too much work. They'd probably have to put a separate chip in the MacBook, up until this point to make it work. But now that they're moving over to their own chips, then bang, that makes a lot of sense. Something that I never thought of. I was like, hey, why don't they just bring Face ID to the Mac, because the camera's garbage anyway. Even if they don't, want to use Face ID, there's a lot of advantages to having that camera module in the Mac versus the one that they currently have. But now, with that in my mind, I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense as to why we haven't seen it yet. And even without the evidence that was found in the beta about the code, if you think about it, a lot of the stuff they announced related to messages on Big Sur, with them bringing emoji stickers and trying to make messages kind of a seamless thing between the Mac and the iPad and the iPhone, because Messenger on macOS has always been a little bit weird. It's been a little bit sketchy, but they're trying to improve it and kind of bring everything, like a full feature set across all suites, and really make it a fully integrated service. So they're already adding emoji stickers, which obviously you don't need a Face ID sensor to do that. But if they're already adding this functionality in, it's not that big of a stretch to think that, they're eventually going to plan to do memojis, like, you can animate with your face using Face ID. And the thing I'm imagining is, all the stuff that they do with like the backgrounds on your iPhone, where you can change out the background and do studio lighting and all that stuff. Imagine being able to do that with the camera built into the MacBook, on your Zoom conference call, and all of a sudden, bang, you're in black and white with studio lighting. Bang, you got a big memoji head in the middle of your video conference with the boss, the CEO. All right, I want to be able to do that. I want to ruin my CEO's day. I just want to have my big memoji head pop up in the meeting, like the most intense time. They're gonna be like, we're getting ready to downsize the department, and then bam, my emoji head pops in the meeting, and I'm just sitting there being all serious, like, memoji serious, and just keeping my facial expression the same, just waiting for people to say something. That's what I want to do, and that's what you might be able to do with the upcoming Macs. Now, there was very little code found about this change, so it could still be a ways off. To me, it would make sense if like the first round of Apple's custom silicone MacBooks, you know, are just basically the same computers with new processors, and then maybe in the next couple of years they introduce that new upgraded FaceTime camera and everybody's all gushing over. They're like, wow, I'm excited about the MacBook again. It's exciting. No one's actually gonna say that, but you know, it's nice to have dreams. It's nice to imagine an Apple commercial in your head. It's nice. It is. If they've been planning this, it makes sense why they haven't really paid much attention to upgrading the webcam in the Mac. Now, Face ID first came around in 2017 with the iPhone 10. At that point, the FaceTime camera would have been about 5 years old, which obviously Face ID was probably a concept way before that because they were moving away from Touch ID and they had to find a solution. So I'm wondering like how long has this been in the pipeline with bringing Face ID to Mac, because I do think it's something that's going to happen. Now, I think it's also important that they still keep Touch ID on the Mac because in reality, the Mac is not the same as using a tablet or an iPhone. You're not going to have it as close to your face. You might have it close to your face sometimes, but you might not other times. You might have it connected to like an external monitor or something. It just might be further away from you where it's more convenient to hit the Touch ID sensor than it will be to try to line your face up for it to scan it. It would have to be able to detect faces at a greater distance. Because like I said, generally, you're probably not going to be as close to your laptop as you would be like an iPhone or an iPad. So for it to really be like convenient to use, it really would have to work at a greater distance and greater angles than it works at right now. Like for instance, we just redesigned our bedroom and now my nightstand is like a foot away from me along with my iPad, and then like I really have to lean super far in. Like I can still fully reach the iPad and the keyboard, but I have to lean super far in for Face ID to work. And, you know, on a MacBook, that might not be the greatest experience. You know, it might not be the strongest experience you can have with Face ID. So I think it's just gonna be a lot more than just taking the existing Face ID module and then plopping it in there and writing a little bit of code for it and be like, here you go. They're really gonna have to design it and make it fit the Mac and work for it. And even if they don't bring Face ID like unlocked, I'm fine with that. Just having a way better webcam with some of the depth sensing that that Face ID does, you know, capable of going up to 4K. That'd be awesome to have like on a MacBook Air or on a MacBook Pro just to do, like I said, conference calls with. So let me know what you think. Do you think that Face ID is a reality for the future MacBooks? Do you care at all about the potato webcam quality that Apple is offering right now? Hit me up in the comments and I'm gonna go hit up this, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go edit this video, I guess. But if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace. That was a good one. That was a good one. Excited about that Face ID. Excited.